Look, I'm in my mid-40s, and I can tell you that you can get and maintain very healthy testosterone levels without TRT if you do the right things, the behaviors, the nutrition, all the other stuff.
This is often not discussed or overlooked in the discussion about testosterone therapy and performance-enhancing drugs.
Low enough testosterone prevents people from sleeping, exercise, social connection, etc. So I do want to acknowledge that. I actually think it's worse than that. I think that they simply don't understand and don't care. And then they end up with issues like joint pain, memory issues, and severe drops in libido. But it actually shuts down the sexual desire and aggression.
Never get to reproduce. In fact, they never even get to have sex at all. And we don't often think about that, but testosterone plays a powerful role in determining which members of a given species will get to reproduce, which ones of that species will actually get access to females. That the higher levels of testosterone correlate with access to females. The females are detecting which males have high testosterone and selecting them. But it's actually more so that the males that have higher testosterone forage further and will fight harder for the females. So today we're going to talk about how you can optimize the ratios depending on your particular life goals, because the ratio of estrogen and testosterone in every individual has profound influence on feelings of well-being, feelings of optimism, feelings of anxiety or lack of anxiety, on reproduction, on sexual behavior independent of reproduction. They are profoundly powerful molecules, and we all make these molecules to some degree or another, but they're also important behavioral tools, supplementation tools, as well as prescription drugs that can impact the ratios of testosterone and estrogen in really powerful ways. So we're going to cover all of that. In males, it's interesting to point out that testosterone is promoting seeking of sex, but it's also estrogen in males that's important for libido. If estrogen levels are brought too low, then men will completely lose their libido. So testosterone promotes sex-seeking behavior, and the real question then is, does sex itself promote testosterone? And the answer is somewhat complicated, but the short version is yes. And sex has multiple stages. So there's the physical act of sex, there's the seeking of sex, and then there's orgasm and ejaculation. Now, it's important to distinguish between these because whether or not sex itself increases testosterone depends on whether or not the male ejaculates. But then after ejaculation, there's a release of prolactin, and prolactin actually sets the refractory period in males during which he can't have sex again. So there are studies showing that sexual behavior itself can increase testosterone. Men who observe sex, so I guess this would be observing pornography, they had increases in testosterone that were very modest, of about 10%. Whereas when people participated in sex, they actually did this study where people had blood draws and they had real sex with their partners, they had 70% increases in testosterone. So there are increases in testosterone that are quite significant during the physical act of sex, and far less so during observing sex. Whether or not ejaculation adjusts testosterone levels. And it turns out that sex and ejaculation itself does not reduce testosterone levels, although it will increase prolactin levels for the reasons I described a moment ago. However, abstinence or sex without ejaculation for a week or more will increase testosterone levels up to 400%. So the answer is actually complicated. It's not straightforward. What it means is that sex itself increases testosterone. However, abstinence also increases testosterone even further. So it's a nuanced answer, and you have to understand that nuance if you want to understand how certain behaviors impact hormones and how hormones impact those behaviors.
One of the quickest ways to boost someone's testosterone is to have them achieve a win. Repeated failures take testosterone levels lower than they would be otherwise.
If you want to optimize testosterone and estrogen, you need to get your light viewing behavior correct. But it means getting anywhere from 2 to 10 minutes of bright light exposure in your eyes early in the day, getting increases in dopamine that are going to promote the production of testosterone and estrogen to healthy levels, viewing bright light within the first hour of waking, whether or not it's from artificial light or ideally from sunlight, has these powerful effects on sleep and wakefulness. But we have to return to this if you want to understand how light can impact hormones, because hormones, light and dopamine have a very close-knit relationship, so much so that your light viewing behavior can actually have a direct effect on hormone levels and fertility. It can have a direct effect on hormone levels and libido. It can have a direct effect on hormone levels and your ability to heal quickly. So bright light early in the day and throughout the day is great. View as much bright light, ideally sunlight, as you can. Getting a lot of light in your eyes is not just about adjusting your sleep-wake rhythms. It's also about optimizing your sex steroid hormones. And avoiding bright light in the middle of the night is not just about not disrupting your sleep. It's also about optimizing the sex steroid hormones. And things like ice baths and cold showers can have positive effects on the sex steroid hormones, both testosterone, mainly in males, and estrogen, mainly in females. You're cooling the neurons that control vasoconstriction and vasodilation and shutting down the entry of blood, or at least reducing it, and hormones into the gonad. Then stimulate the gonad to release more testosterone, or would stimulate the gonad to release more estrogen. If you want to increase testosterone, weight training with heavy loads, but not to failure, seems to be the best supported, at least scientifically supported, solution to that. When moving heavy loads, but not to failure, that has to provide some sort of feedback signal either to the gonad to produce more testosterone or is increasing the activity of receptors in the body. Now, it may not raise your testosterone levels as high as you want, but it's definitely taking things in the correct direction. Okay, so now let's talk about the role of specific compounds, many of which can be taken in supplementation form in order to optimize sex steroid hormones. And again, I just want to emphasize that I'm not suggesting anyone take anything or stop taking anything. This is purely for informational purposes, but some of the data on these is quite striking and impressive. It's very clear that certain collections of nutrients are useful for promoting testosterone and estrogen production in their proper ratios. And those things are what I would call the sort of usual suspects. Vitamin D, which is important for so many biological functions, including endocrine functions, zinc, magnesium, etc. I personally have supplemented with zinc, magnesium, and vitamin D for years. Now, for people that aren't getting prescribed TRT but want the increase in testosterone, there are these plant compounds like tonga ali. So tonga ali, about 400 milligrams per day, has the effect of raising free testosterone and overall testosterone by about 100 to 200 points. And another one, which is very interesting, it's a Nigerian shrub called Phaedogia agrestis, and it mimics luteinizing hormone, which is the hormone that comes out of the hypothalamus that stimulates the testes if you got those and the ovaries if you've got those to make more testosterone or estrogen. And so those two herbal supplements together can give a significant boost in free and active testosterone.
So you said Tongat Ali can give you 100 to 200?
Yeah, about that.
Well, what does the other one give you?
Phaedogia is usually taken at about 600 milligrams. The most dramatic effect I've ever seen was somebody who had his testosterone down in the low twos, or I think it was like low twos, and he got it up to the 700 range, but
Really?
that's an outlier, right? Most people are going to see about a 300 to 400 point increase. Phaedogia will actually make the testes grow. It's a noticeable difference.
Everybody wants that.